In 2025, Toyota broke an all-time sales record selling 11.3 million vehicles. Now, if you missed yesterday's video, we talked about how Hyundai, Kia just broke an all-time January record for sales. Hyundai broke an all-time January record for sales. Meanwhile, Mazda had its third best January ever, even though they are down 17%. And I just made a video earlier today how Honda is just kind of floating along. Honda up 2%, but they're selling at a slower clip. Watch that video because I expressed my worry for Acura because half their models are going to be gone here in just a few months. All right, but today we're focusing on Toyota's sales. They have just come in. They have posted 11 straight months of successful year-over-year sales growth. They're up 8% on the year. Okay, we're only 1 month into the year. January's numbers we're going to dive into. If you guys are excited for that, make sure to smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed. I cover car sales updates every month, okay, as well as review cars. If you can see, maybe you can see in the background, that's actually the rear end of the Santa Fe Hybrid. So I'm reviewing that this week too. So stay tuned for that. But what we have on the screen is the full sales model by model, not only Toyota, but Lexus, and also individual electrified sales too. Man, that could be a whole video in itself. So if you guys are excited, hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed. This is just the beginning of the year in its sales. Now, before we dive into Toyota sales, keep in mind, so far, the manufacturers that are reporting on average are up 3%. All right, so Toyota is outperforming the market, being up 8% here, with Lexus having an all-time record. Guys, Lexus broke an all-time sales record for the month of January. This is coming off of them just breaking an all-time record for full year sales, not only 24, but also in 25. They've had back-to-back record-breaking years, Lexus, and they're starting this year up 15%. It's a bit bonkers, up 14%. Now, there's one more selling day in the month of January 2025 versus 2024. So that's why the volume is going to be up more than the DSR. Let's start with Corolla. Corolla sold almost 20,000 units. The Civic, the second best-selling vehicle in that segment, sold about 16,000 units. So the Corolla is up 12%. It is confirmed that Toyota will be building the next-gen Corolla hybrid in America. That will be in 2028. So we're a long ways out. We're still 2 years out, minimum 2 years out of a next-gen Corolla. All right. So the concept we saw at the Japan Mobility Show is very much a concept. We're still a ways out from this vehicle getting a redesign, but it will have next-gen hybrid technology, more than likely with their all-new 1.5-liter four-cylinder. We're getting some closeout volume on the Supra. Not much is left. All right. GR86 sales volume minus 10%. Not looking good. All right. Toyota Mirai, they're still selling some fuel cells out there in California. Crown, up 68%. Toyota is doing everything they can to boost the sales of auxiliary models that kind of fall in the same price point of the RAV4. And I'll explain why here in a little bit. But the Crown sedan is massively up. Okay, 67%. Prius is struggling. Not sure what's going on. It could be due to more recalls on the back doors. That's the latest I heard from Japan. Camry, up 14%. The Camry barely outselling the Corolla, but it has it by 2,000 units. The Camry, you can get Camry LE is still one of the best deals on the market. About $27,000. You can get a Camry LE and you'll get to 60 miles per gallon. It's an amazing car. But the other trim levels are great too. Don't get me wrong. Other trim levels are great. They're just not quite that stupid bargain. Let's keep moving. We'll get into Lexus here in a little bit. We'll cover Lexus on the second half of this video. Let's talk about the BZ. The BZ is finally available with good availability. I looked in my area. You can get these for the low $30,000 range. And you can get an entry-level BZ for about the same price as the new RAV4 2026 redesign. And you're not going to have to wait. All right, or get on the waiting list for the for the BZ versus the RAV4. So you have the BZ. It's got new e-axles. It's got NACS charging. It charges faster, has better cold weather performance, better software. So they fixed all the major issues with it. and it sold 2,700 units in the month of January, about a tenth of the RAV4 volume. But traditionally, it's way lower than a tenth of the RAV4 volume. It's outselling things like the Honda Prologue. It's even outselling Hyundai's Ioniq 5 by a few hundred units. Let that sink in. Toyota's EV is outselling Hyundai's EV. It's outselling the EV6 about 5-1 right now. Well, Kia especially has pulled back its EV production. All right, so the BZ is one of the best-selling compact/mid-size EVs on the market right now, at least in America. It's quite surprising, honestly. But Toyota, they're kind of in this slow rollout of EVs. Toyota, everyone yelled at them, like put them down, ridiculed them for not having EVs to the market. And now that their EVs are out, people are buying them. I know, it's crazy. Now, the new Highlander EV, who knows what it'll be priced at? Who knows how compelling it's going to be, how much range? It can't have much more than 300 miles of range, if it even has 300 miles of range. It's just very niche. The three-row EV market is very, very small. And Hyundai and Kia have good three-row EVs, and they don't sell well. BZ is going to sell well for them, okay? Especially in the wake of missing RAV4, the vacuum of RAV4 sales. You have the RAV4 being built in 2 different assembly lines in Canada. You have the RAV4 also being built in Kentucky, and you also have it being built in Japan. So there's 3 different sources of the RAV4. They all have to switch over one at a time. Okay, so they have continual RAV4 output, but they have to switch the RAV4s over little by little, plant by plant, assembly line by assembly line, from the old generation to the new generation. The new generation is going to be out for probably like 10 years. Okay, and they can put more updated hybrid systems in there, but the basic template here is not going to change that much for the RAV4 for the next 10 years, I would expect. They're not really in a rush to get the new 26 RAV4s out. They need to get it done systematically, and it's just going to take some time. So you have this massive drop in RAV4 sales. This is Toyota's by far their best-selling vehicle. Look, if we look at last January, it sold 36,000 units. Like, nothing else came close. Nothing was over 20,000 units. Tacoma and Camry came close. All right, so now what's just happened is that the RAV4 sales just fell off a cliff. It's down 40% because of the plant switchover to the new model. And it's going to be, like I said, a slow. This is going to continue to afflict the RAV4 sales for the first minimum 3 months, I would say, until the new RAV4 is all switched over to the 26. So minimum 3 months. It could be much longer for them to get this sort of volume up and running. Okay, about 36,000 per month. And the RAV4 sold almost 500,000 units last year, which I think it was its best year ever. They have to make up these sales from somewhere else, because the best-selling vehicle for Toyota is down 40%, but they ended up selling a surplus of 7% versus last January without the help of the RAV4. The RAV4 is on it's kind of coming off the bench right now. Well, it's still a starting player, but let's say it has the flu. All right, so it's not able to contribute to Toyota's success like it usually does, the RAV4. Okay, and it's going to have diminished returns and diminished success for the next few months. They need the BZ to chip in. They need things like the Camry and the Corolla to chip in and to go above and beyond. All right, and they are up 12%, up 14%. All right. One of the vehicles that's a bit disappointing is a Crown Signia. It's down 40% as well, similar to the RAV4. Why is it down? My only guess is they only have so much production, and there's a huge demand for this vehicle in Japan. This vehicle is now just recently on sale in Japan in like the last 6 months, something like that. So they've had this backlog of Japanese demand. It launched in America first, even though it's built in Japan, the Crown Signia. And they get a plug-in hybrid of it too, by the way, which kind of makes me mad. And I think Toyota's okay with not having too much Crown Signia sales because it is so close to Lexus. All right. It really eats into potential Lexus sales volume. So they don't want to have too much Crown sales, whether it's the Crown sedan here or the Crown wagon. Okay. So let's move in. Rest in peace, Venza, aka Harrier, still on sale in Japan. The Venza, that's a Harrier. Highlander. Okay, this is where things get fun here. Okay, Highlander's up 70%, 68%. The Highlander, though, is about ready to be replaced, okay, by the new Highlander EV, just an EV. There's no hybrid Highlander coming that I'm aware of, or plug-in hybrid Highlander coming that I'm aware of. I hope I hear different, okay? So the Highlander here is up 68%. Why is it up so much? And my theory is that before it goes to Kentucky to be built as an EV, it's staying at the Indiana plant and they're using all the parts they can, okay? All these parts that they've had amassed or ordered, they're using up all the parts, okay? And so they're producing at a higher clip than normal to make sure they have all the parts used to build the Highlanders before it goes to Kentucky as an EV this year, okay? I don't know when it will happen this year. It could be by the end of this year. So Highlander is probably going to be fairly successful the rest of this year. It's still like historically low numbers, but Toyota cannot wait to get rid of the Highlander in its current form because there are 3 vehicles made in Indiana that will benefit massively from a lack of Highlander taking up production volume there. Okay. Number 1, chiefly, the greatest benefactor of the Highlander being gone is the Grand Highlander. The sales are double that of the Highlander for the Grand Highlander. The sales are up over 70% on this vehicle. And the demand, I've looked in my area, there are hardly any Grand Highlanders available. Hardly any. Okay. So if you're in the market and you want a Grand Highlander, especially a hybrid, you're either going to wait 6+ months and pay full price, if not over MSRP, or you can look at like something like a Santa Fe. Okay, not as big, but it's still hybrid. I can't wait to fill it up and see what kind of fuel economy, but I'm seeing about 35 miles per gallon. Okay, it might be better than that when I fill it up. Or I know the Santa Fe is more of a direct rival to the Highlander, but I'm just giving you guys options. If you want a Grand Highlander right now, there's just such little hope of getting one due to the demand and the lack of Toyota to be able to provide the demand. Okay, the new Telluride hybrid's coming out, and the new Telluride's insane from Kia. And also the new Palisade's out, and the Palisade hybrid's unbelievable. I got 30 miles per gallon. I personally would just get it in front wheel drive so I can get a lot better fuel economy on Telluride and the Palisade. But those vehicles are available now in a much better volume actually than the Grand Highlander. Even the new Telluride. The brand new Telluride is out and available in numbers that are greater than the Grand Highlander, and it makes the Grand Highlander look bad. That's how good the new Telluride is. All right, I haven't driven it, but I've driven the new Palisade. It's a clone of that, except it looks like a Range Rover. It's insane. Toyota 4Runner. It's up 6,595%. It wasn't available a year ago. They're having production issues out of the Tahara plant in Japan. They seemingly still are because Land Cruiser's down massively. Land Cruiser's down 42%, but the 4Runner is helping out massively Toyota. So again, the RAV4 is down 14,000 units. Not that big of a deal when all of a sudden you had 0 4Runner and now you have 10,000 4Runners. That pretty much closed the gap right there for Toyota. And then you have other big successes right now, like the Grand Highlander, the Camry, the Corolla. You see the Corolla Cross right now. You see the BZ. Okay, let's talk about Corolla Cross volume. Look at this thing. This thing is selling closer to where it needs to. It's still not at production capacity. Production capacity for Toyota, 12,500 per month. So they're only operating at about 60% capacity right now. Corolla Cross will continue to grow in volume, and it is just refreshed. It's such a good car. It's such a fine little car. Obviously, I have preference for the hybrid model, and it's not even close. All right, that's just me, though. See, I have not checked. I'm going to check real quick on Corolla Cross volume, because yesterday I checked at Sienna and Grand Highlander and things like that. 4Runner even checked out, but I did not check out Corolla Cross Hybrid 2. There's just none. There are none. You're not going to... Apparently, this is even on discount. All right, it's not worth 36K, not even close to get a RAV4 for that, or a CRV or something, or Sportage. Again, this is a vehicle, the Corolla Cross here, there's 354. Look at this, 354 ICE Corolla Crosses and 2 hybrids. The hybrids are all pre-sold, all of them. In fact, like there's just not even any in transit. It seems like they're just pumping out a bunch of normal Corolla Crosses, discounts to 26K, 25K, $2,000 discount. It's a Toyota. It's going to be reliable, but man, definitely not my favorite car in this segment. The new Seltos is going to kick serious butt in that segment when it comes out with a hybrid. Like I said, 4Runner doing massive work here. Keep in mind, 100. Let's say they get to 120,000 units minimum with the 4Runner this year. That's where the 4Runner traditionally is. The 4Runner sells at about 130, 140,000 units a year. Okay, so the 4Runner's success is still doesn't have much direct competition. The Xterra isn't coming out till 2028, and yeah, the 4Runner they're still trying to meet demand from when they weren't producing any. There was about a year when they weren't producing 4Runners at volume. So there's a lot of pent-up demand for the 4Runners still. Sequoia up 37%. Okay, they sold 1,800. None of the Sequoias have been recalled due to the twin-turbo V6 main bearing issues that vehicle has, that engine has. All right. Land Cruiser down 42%. Something going on at the Tahara plant. Not quite sure. Let's get into Sienna, Tacoma, and Tundra, then we'll switch over to Lexus here. Sienna up 14%, selling at 7,345 units. Okay, let's say 7,400 times 12 is 88,000. They sold over 100,000 Siennas last year. And this is one of the vehicles that's also built in Indiana. So once the Highlander's gone, Toyota, assuming they have the part supply in line, I'm sure they do. All right, they got it figured out. They're the best in the world, the best-selling automaker in the world for a reason. So that once a Highlander is gone, they're going to have parts waiting to build the Grand Highlander in even higher volume, the Sienna in even higher volume. Guys, there's no volume on the Sienna. Okay, like let me show you. Sienna 97 in my area, and most of them are like they're just in transit. Well, here's one on the ground. Most of them are in transit. And so I'm telling you guys, if you don't want to wait forever for a Sienna or be on a wait list, well, this one says it's on sale. I'm not buying it. I'm not believing it. You can go get a Kia Carnival hybrid for a lot less money, for about $40,000 compared to $48,000 on a wait list for a Sienna. All right, so go get a Carnival hybrid instead, or an Odyssey. If fuel economy is not that important to you, then go get an Odyssey. Odyssey is best in class if you don't need to have 30 plus miles per gallon out of your van. But man, the fuel economy is just so good that it holds this vehicle up on its own. Anyways, I don't want to get too much into minivans. You guys know I'll get off track on minivans, and I'll talk about it all day long. But I do have to say this: the Odyssey just posted over 5,000 unit sales. The Carnival had its best month ever, best January ever, maybe best month ever too, selling close to 6,000 units. Okay, so minivans are super hot right now, and everyone who has one, maybe not Chrysler, because Chrysler's a joke, but all the brands that have a good minivan and a fairly updated minivan are seeing a lot of success with those products. Okay, and the Sienna is no exception. Once the Highlander's gone, the Sienna's going to even be produced at higher volumes, maybe 120,000 a year. Okay, still not enough to meet the demand, in my opinion. Tacoma. No, the Tacoma sold, I always forget, was it 250 last year? The Tacoma sold about 275,000. Jeez Louise. Tacoma sold about 275,000 units last year. I guess I have this spreadsheet up. I could have looked here where it tells me right there. Anyways, sometimes Googling is just easier. You guys know. The Tacoma up 14%. Guys, it broke an all-time sales record last year, and it's on pace to do it again. All Tacomas come out of two different plants down in Mexico, Guanajuato, and Baja. Tacoma is just, I don't understand. They have to be selling a lot of fleet of this vehicle. They have to. I'm curious on what kind of availability on the ground. Oh, a ton. Okay, I know they sell a ton. All right, but compared to the RAV4, it has like 3 times the volume. Okay, so the Tacoma, 1,500 of these things on the ground. That is unbelievable. Still priced a little too high. Like for this price, just give me a Frontier with the V6. Frontier is amazing. All right. But that's just me. I'm a Frontier snob. Tacoma's good and it looks awesome, but I'd rather have the V6 Frontier. That's just me. Anyways, they're doing something right with the Tacoma. Whether they're selling it to rental companies, I don't know. And how much of a clip, I don't know either. Toyota won't break out individual models, fleet sale ratio. All right. So it is what it is. But availability on the Tacoma and the Tundra is really high. Again, going back here, lots of Tundras, over 600 in my area just sitting. That's not including the hybrid, over 100 of the hybrid. Tundra Tacoma, you're going to be able to get good deals on. Really good deals. Tundra sales were actually up, but it's negative on a daily selling rate. Okay. I would only lease a Tundra because I don't trust the engine whatsoever. Do not, and even the Tacoma is having issues with the 8-speed auto. Let's keep moving. So Toyota, in recap, not counting Lexus, is up 7% despite the RAV4 being down 40%. Most of the other models are overperforming besides like Crown Signia. Everything else is crushing it. Okay. Land Cruiser. I apologize. Land Cruiser is not doing that great. So let's get into Lexus cars. This is a sad time for Lexus cars. LC's done. Dead in the water. I think production might go in for a few more months, but look at the sales volume's low. There's no availability of this thing. Little to none. I will be reviewing it one last time here shortly. In the next couple of weeks, I'll have the LC convertible one last time. Lexus LS, it's also dead. About 40 years of legacy. You can put a fork in it. LS is dead. Sales are just non-existent. RC, same thing. Done. Gone. All right. This is all following the demise of the Lexus GS in 2020. The IS, look at this. IS is going gangbusters while the rest of the sedans and coupes are dying, including the ES. We'll get in the ES here in a little bit. But up 34% on the IS. The new IS is on transit. They haven't arrived at dealers quite yet that I'm aware of. The new 26 IS with the updated interior, updated exterior. It only comes in the IS 350 now in America. RIP IS 500, but that's okay. It's okay. I'm not going to miss the IS 500 that much. I'm not going to miss the IS 500 as much as the ISF or the GS or the LC. Not even close. The LC is the greatest Lexus. It's in Lexus royalty. Okay, you have like the first 3 generations of LS, they're in an untouchable category. You have the LC500, not the hybrid joke. Okay, the V8 LC500, that's an untouchable Lexus category. And then you have the LFA, also an untouchable Lexus category. Everything else falls short of that in different tiers. You might be saying, though, that you can make a case for the LX570 or something, or the LX470, maybe. The LC is just so good, and it's unfortunate it's being killed. This is really frustrating. So let's get into the ES, though. The ES sales are plummeting, all right, as there's production is done. Production is done in America on the ES. They don't make it in Kentucky anymore. It was made in Kentucky from 2016 to, 2016 to 2026. So they had a 10-year run. Well, about a 9-year run because it ended in 2025. So they had about a 9-year run for the ES in Kentucky. And they're like, we're going to make it fully battery electric with the hybrid version as an afterthought. All right. Because, well, they thought the luxury market would be far more electrified. They even are on record. Lexus admitted they effed up. Lexus went on record. I forget exactly who said it, but they said, we were expecting the new ES when it came out to have an 80% take rate as the EV. In reality, a year later, 2 years later, the market completely switched, no EV tax credit. And the ES, they're now expecting 80% minimum take rate of the hybrid variant. Unfortunately for the ES, it doesn't get the Crown Hybrid Max. It doesn't get the 360 horsepower Hybrid Max. It doesn't get a plug-in hybrid that the NX and RX have. And Probably won't. It has the Camry hybrid powertrain. It has a RAV4 hybrid powertrain. When you look at things that separate the ES away from a Camry, okay, or a Crown even, it just doesn't do I will be driving it soon. The ES, and soon, I mean the first half of this year, but I'm really cautious about getting excited for the new ES when I know it's mainly focused for the Chinese market and focused as a BEV first with really modest, like underwhelming specs for an EV. Yeah, it's got its work cut out for it on the EV end. How will it compete with Audi A6? How will it compete with Lucid Air? Things like that. Luckily, it still has 2.5-liter hybrid system, but it deserves more. The ES deserves more than just a hybrid and lackluster BEV variants. It deserves more, in my opinion. It's unfortunate it doesn't get a plug-in hybrid or an EREV or even a hybrid max. It's really sad. Okay, let's move on. All right, the ES sales are going to be in the gutter for a long time. Yeah, no 26 models are en route yet, and sales are tanking hard as well. They're running out of stock on the current ES because it's no longer in production. Yikes. Sad times. If you're a Lexus coupe and sedan enthusiast, this is the bleakest time, the most dark time in the history of the company. It is true. Let's get into Lexus crossovers. The UX is not a great vehicle. So the people who own them, they love them. I used to sell the UX because, well, at the time it was very unique, but it's very small. The UX has been supplanted in many markets. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. It's been supplanted in largely big time sales volume by this vehicle, which is a luxurious version of the Corolla Cross. Yaris Cross. This is the LBX. It's very small. It's great for Europe. I get it. It's not available in America. And remember, there's also the LBX Morizo edition, which is like a GR Yaris, all-wheel drive, hot hatch, 300 horsepower. You guys know. This vehicle has really done some work for Lexus in Europe, and the UX has suffered massively in its sales and its success. In America, we have nothing. The CT's gone. I'd love for a hybrid wagon in America for Lexus. Okay. The UX is kind of a nerdy, not even good looking hatchback. It's very expensive for having a Prius powertrain. The Prius looks a lot better. Just get a Prius. The UX is way quieter than the Prius. I'll give it that. Yes, it's quieter. It's smoother, but man, it's just so expensive. These things start at like $40K. All right, I'm curious. I'm going to look up Lexus UX now. They only sell it as a UX 300H. Nowadays, there's only 63 in my area. Okay, they're not worth their sticker price. I wouldn't pay close to $40,000 for one of these things. Not even close. Yikes. Anyways, it's been a failure. Now, Lexus is going to replace the UX, from what I'm hearing, with the Land Cruiser FJ. Okay, this vehicle. Now, I'm going to step back. I'm hoping it's the Lexus version of a Land Cruiser FJ sold as a GX or a baby GX. All I've heard from the dealer end is that there's going to be a UX replacement in the form of a baby GX looking vehicle. Well, there's only one vehicle in the world that looks like a baby Land Cruiser J250, and that's this. All right. So unless they make it a unibody, unless they take something like an NX and transform it into a more rugged looking vehicle to make it look more like this, the only other option is this. The only other option is for them to rebadge and upmarket the Land Cruiser FJ. But there are a lot of problems to this. Well, we don't get any vehicles built in Thailand from Toyota. And the powertrain on this is very lackluster for a luxury brand. It's got the 2.7, 150 horsepower 2TR engine with a 6-speed auto. And who knows if it would even pass safety crash regulations in America. There's still that snowball's chance that this comes as a UX replacement, badged as a Lexus. Small chance. But there's also the chance that we get a unibody, rugged looking vehicle. Think Bronco Sport. So the Bronco Sport, I don't know what kind of ad this is. That's weird. Okay, there's the Bronco Sport. Bronco Sport, it would be amazing for Lexus to have an entry-level vehicle that obviously is kind of like the GX Sport, Land Cruiser Sport. So they could do that unibody. It would be built in Japan if that's the case, because there's just no production capacity for a rugged unibody sort of thing coming. All right, so it'd be awesome for Lexus to have this. It'd be easier if it's unibody because, well, they just have so many more hybrid options and other higher power engine options coming out of Japan than they do down in Thailand, where they build the FJ. Regardless, I think it's safe to say that the UX, its days are numbered. It should be replaced this year, or at least announced this year with a replacement model as a rugged model. All right. And I cannot wait for it. It's going to do wonders for Lexus. It's going to sell really, really well. Even if it's a unibody, even if it's a Bronco Sport or a GX Sport sort of vehicle. Ideally, it's a Land Cruiser FJ rebadge, and then the world will go nuts. Absolutely lose their mind. NX is down 20%. I'm not exactly sure why. The NX is supposed to get a refresh this spring. That's just what I've heard also from the dealers. So there's nothing that's been communicated. Maybe at like the ES Media Drive, they'll have a reveal for the new NX. The new NX I've heard is not only going to get a massive refresh, maybe even it could even be a redesign. But the vehicle came out as a 22 model, I think. Let me go back in time. Yes, it came out as a 22 model, and the NX. So 22, 23, 24, 25. We haven't got a refresh on it. There have been minor improvements. Okay, so 26. As a 27 model, it's ready, not just for a refresh, it's ready for a redesign. Hopefully Lexus can, how much they'll change it, I don't know. But we're supposed to get new lights, new styling for this vehicle. And it's supposed to go full hybrid. That's what I've heard. Time will tell. But it'll have the new 2.5 hybrid as standard, as well as the new plug-in hybrid that like the GR Sport RAV4 has, with 320 or so horsepower and 50 miles of electric range. It's an amazing powertrain, and stuffing it into a smaller vehicle like the NX would be awesome. The NX, more than likely, again, getting a big refresh. Is that why the sales are down? Because they're like the RAV4, they're switching over like the ES. Okay, ES sales are down. Like those vehicles are switching over to a new sort of design in the near future. It's possible. I'm not quite sure though. Hopefully we get an NX massive update in the first half of this year. In the meantime though, so again, you might be saying, Kirk, okay, traditional really good seller ES is down. All these cars are down. IS is up though, but you're saying Lexus is up 15%. How's that possible when their car division is down 8%. Okay. The NX is down 20%. The UX is down 36%. Well, here comes the success of Lexus right now. RZ, whatever. The sales are very, very low here. Okay. They almost sold 1,000. All right. But look, they've doubled up the sales of the UX with the RZ. Fascinating, right? Lexus will have some sales for ES EV, but it'll be very, very low. So RZ is seeing success. The RX, it's traditional cash cow. The RX is up 28%. How is the RX up so much? And in the same plant, in where they build these, where most of them come, we still get some NX RX from Japan, but where most of them come is from Canada. Well, how is the NX down 20% and the RX up 28%? The only thing that would make sense for me is if the NX is going through some sort of transformation that I don't have another explanation for it. There could be another explanation. I just don't know what it would be. So the RX, they got plenty of RX, production. So NX availability is down. NX production is down, and they're burning hot with RX production and output and sales right now. It's incredibly impressive. TX, like the Grand Highlander built in Indiana, is going to not only have a great year, its best year ever, the TX. Once the Highlander leaves Indiana, the TX is going to get even more production. The TX is easily outselling the traditional powerhouse in this segment, which is the MDX. The MDX roughly sold 3,000 units. The TX, again, sold about 3,800 units. The TX officially has become the number one three-row SUV, luxury SUV on the market. It's official. It's done. Okay. And it's only going to get more successful when the Highlander leaves. Lexus GX up 14%. And the GX, it's interesting. Land Cruiser's down 40%. It's down 2,000 units. The GX is up 500 units. So I'm not sure what's going on with the Land Cruiser, why that's done, because the GX and Land Cruiser are the same vehicle. Obviously, different styling. GX has twin turbo V6, Land Cruiser is turbo 4-cylinder and hybrid. Okay, obviously they have their differences, but they both come from the Tahara plant. Maybe the Land Cruiser is having issues with hybrid supply, okay? And the GX is not having those production snags. I don't know. Regardless, I'm sure Toyota would rather sell more GXs than Land Cruisers because there's a higher profit margin on luxury cars, even though the Land Cruiser is like a $70,000 truck. Okay, the GX is like $80,000 to $90,000. So there's a lot more profit to be made on a GX than a J250 Land Cruiser. The demand for the GX is astronomical, like the TX, especially the TX hybrids. The GX demand is easily the most demanded vehicle for Lexus, easily. It's in the same sort of category of demand as the Sienna, as the Grand Highlander, okay, and the RAV4. This vehicle is it's out of stock everywhere. Let me see if I can even find any GXs. GX 550, only 73 in stock, okay, which is slightly more than the UX, but most of those UX, look, these are all placeholder images. These are not in stock. They're in transit and they're already spoken for. They're already pre-sold, just like every Sienna, just like every Grand Highlander, especially the Grand Highlander hybrids. All right. So GX is unobtainium unless you're just going to sit on a wait list for a long time. If you're happy to sit on a wait list for a long time, then you can get your GX for $70,000 to $80,000, maybe $90,000. Sounds like a deal to me. And even the LX. The LX is seeing a small boost here. LX, maybe an eighth of the demand and the availability of the GX. I'm curious, what kind of LX availability is there? Like 40 million. That's about right. Typically, there's like one LX per dealership at any given time. They're very rare. So as a result, Lexus is up. Well, Lexus SUV is up 20%, despite one of the best sellers, the NX, being down massively, UX being down massively. The RX is so strong right now. The TX is so strong. The GX is so strong. All right. Now let's get into hybrids. An article just came out today. Toyota is increasing production for hybrids 30%. That's by 2028. So they're going to produce almost 2 million more hybrids in 2028 than they are in 2026. It's absolutely nuts. So we go back to the sales figures here for hybrids. Prius is down like we talked about, but Corolla hybrids even down. Remember, all the Corolla hybrids come in from Japan. Camry hybrid, all Camrys sold are hybrid now. Okay. And it's up 15%. All right. So Camry, look at Camry. Look at this Camry hybrid volume. Nothing comes close. Nothing. The only vehicle that will come close, actually, and blow past it is the new RAV4 hybrid. If we look at RAV4 hybrid, look at this. Last January, they sold almost 18,000 RAV4 hybrids. They're selling out currently before they switch over to the fully hybrid model, which aren't available quite yet. So 5,000 units. They only sold 5,000 hybrid RAV4s. So their hybrid volume has fallen off a cliff for that vehicle until it's going to just skyrocket. They're going to go from selling 5,000 this January to let's say July. They're going to be selling 30,000 or 35,000. Again, RAV4 sales last January was 36,000 units in a January. They can sell 40,000 of these things a month. So RAV4 hybrid volume is going to increase, or sales volume is going to increase eightfold at some point this year. And because of its massive drop in availability, the RAV4 Toyota electrified sales are actually down 6%. But it's temporary, guys. It's temporary. It's going to be massive by the end of the year, massively positive for electrification sales. This is interesting. 4Runner hybrid, guys. The 4Runner sold 10,000 units right here. Where is it at? Where did it go? 10,700 units. Okay. 25% of 4Runner sales. Let's check this out. 25, they sold 2,500 as hybrids. That's a lot more than I was expecting. I was expecting like 10 to 15% of 4Runner sales to be hybrid because the hybrids are so freaking expensive. Highlander hybrid, 2,800 units, a lot more than the previous year, but sales on the Highlander is much, much more than the previous year. Grand Highlander hybrid, look at this. Look at this massive jump, 150% increase in Grand Highlander hybrid. I'm telling you, the demand is obviously much higher than that. Sequoia doing well, like we mentioned. Land Cruiser not doing well. BZ doing well. RAV4 in the dumps as they switch over. And that includes a plug-in hybrid here. Corolla Cross. Okay, wow. This is disgusting. So remember when I said, hey, Corolla Cross is selling like gangbusters. It sold 8,500 units. 8,500 units. And when we looked up availability, there wasn't even Corolla Crosses in the inventory, let alone like on the ground, meaning they weren't even allocated. So 34% for the Corolla Cross here increase, but it's all the gas model because the Corolla Cross only sold 1,300. So it sold 8,500 units, but only 1,300 were the Corolla Cross hybrid. That's not meeting the market demand by any means. Market demand on that vehicle is probably about 50% hybrid. All right. And they're nowhere close. I don't know what's happening here. That's really worrisome. Really, really strange how they're not producing like any Corolla Cross hybrids. That is a head scratcher. The Tacoma sold less hybrids than the 4Runner did, okay, by about 200 units. Tacoma again sold 21,000 units, but only sold 2,200 hybrids. So again, about 10% hybrid uptake for the Tacoma. That is more in line with what I would expect, unlike the 4Runner. The 4Runner is about 25% hybrid breakthrough. Tundra hybrid up 46%. All right. And then you have, this is interesting. Remember the NX was down a lot. NX was down 20%. NX hybrid down 15%. Plug-in hybrids are actually up on it slightly, but LX is selling at a much higher level with the 700H. It's a good hybrid. UX hybrid minus 36. Well, it's all hybrid now. The UX just, people call it the SUX. The Lexus sucks. Yeah, it's a bit harsh and people will get offended. So I don't use that term. ES hybrid, well, this is sad. It's completely in the tank. We will be getting a new ES hybrid. You probably won't see it till this summer if you're lucky. RX hybrid, well, RX went nuts. It had such a good month, sold over 8,000 units. 3,600 RX. So if you add the plug-in hybrids, we have over 4,100 hybrids for the RX. And the RX total sales was 8,300. That's half. Half of the RX sales are hybrid. NX sold 4,400 units. NX sales were 2,100 units for the hybrid. So NX is about half, maybe a little bit more with the plug-in volume. NX is a little bit more than half of its total volume is hybrid. So if they went full hybrid on the NX, I think it would only benefit the vehicle. I think you guys would agree with that. TX hybrid doing great, no surprise. And the plug-in hybrid actually sold a decent, I wouldn't say decent amount. It's nowhere near where it needs to be. The TX plug-in hybrid's fantastic, but the best part of it is it's just V6 hybrid. So when you run out of the EV range, it's more fun to drive because the V6 hybrid function in there is fantastic. The TX, though, I just wish it was standard V6 hybrid. It would be so good. But hey, it doesn't matter. The Lexus is still not having any issues pushing the TX. All right, but a V6 hybrid in there is fantastic. It's like $85K. 85K. All right. So Toyota, they are making up for losses, whether it's the Toyota end or the Lexus end. On the Toyota end, RAV4 is down and will continue to be down, but they're making up for it with so many other volume players. Grand Highlander, Sienna, even the Highlander pulling its weight. Okay. The Forerunner making up massive ground compared where it was. It's just crazy that Toyota's best selling model is down massively, like 40% or whatever it was. Okay. And the brand is still up like 8%. They just don't skip a beat. Lexus up 14%, despite its second best selling vehicle, the NX, being down. Well, the GX is doing well. TX is doing well. RX is doing like ungodly well. All the sedans and coupes are pretty much dead and dying, except for the IS. It's such a strange time for Lexus. I'm a bit concerned about the coupe and sedan future for Lexus and for a lot of luxury brands, but especially Lexus. And you could say Acura too, but I have Acura has a lot more worries than just, sedans and coupes. Okay. So anyways, don't want to bring Acura into this unfairly. I already made a video on Acura and how I'm really concerned about them going forward. Lexus is going to be A-okay. They're focusing on what does well, and that's hybrids. And they're going to be producing so many more hybrids here in North America in the next 2 years. They're just burning red hot, Toyota and Lexus right now, and there's nothing stopping them, not even themselves. A lot of these other brands have themselves to blame, mostly themselves to blame. And Toyota and Lexus, we got this thing figured out. They absolutely do. Their day supply is way lower than everyone else for 2 straight years now. Toyota just posted 11 straight months of gains. Lexus just broke 2 years of sales records. Toyota globally just broke another full year sales record. And they're starting 2026 off without skipping a beat, even though they have their problems. They have their problems with meeting market demand. That's a great problem to have. Most of these other brands are like, we have too much production volume and not enough demand. It's crazy. All right, I got to shut it down. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more Toyota updates. I will be leaving Sunday. I'll be leaving Sunday to drive some new Toyota products and also reveal for you guys the new Highlander EV February 10th. So make sure you subscribe, lock the channel, and also put on your calendar February 10th. Kirk's going to reveal the new Highlander EV. All right, great. Thank you guys. Have a great day and peace.